Hey there guys, what is going on? In today's video in our Best Guns in Modern Warfare series, we are taking a look at one of the first guns that I did look at, and it is of course still one of the best guns in the game by far, even through all of the nerfs. The M4A1 is still the best gun in Modern Warfare, and this loadout that I recently tried out is probably the best version that you can make at the moment. What makes this so strong is the 9mm para round magazine, which turns the M4 into a pretty deadly weapon up close. Like, close to medium ranges, it does dominate, and it'll definitely struggle at longer ranges a little bit, but you can still pretty much get the job done at pretty much any range. I'd only recently discovered that the 9mm para rounds were actually like nuts. Like, this was kind of a bit of a new thing to me. It turns out the M4 is a bit of a bullet hose with this attached, and it does fire outrageously quickly with this attached. It even rivals the SMGs up close. It is absolutely wild how strong this thing is. Also, there are occasionally some complaints with the recoil on the M4, but with this class setup, it'll be a little bit more manageable. You still will sometimes struggle a little bit with like sort of longer ranges, but you will have a new favorite class after you try this out in Modern Warfare. But before we do get into a class setup here, let's try and get this video to 5 likes. 1 like for each of the nerfs they've probably given to the M4, and yet somehow it is still impossibly strong. The support has been absolutely wild at the moment. Like, I've never seen such a massive surge in traffic for my channel. We've had like 40-ish new subs recently, and it gets me very, very excited to see all the new faces around. So make sure you do click that subscribe button with the notifications turned on, so you can be a part of the fantastic little community that we're building here. Okie dokie. So if you are interested in the bullet hose M4, which I'm sure you are because you're a massive sweat god in this game like me, you'll want to start with the muzzle. With the 9mm para rounds reducing out damage and a little bit of range, you'll want to increase that as much as you can. So the monolithic suppressor is a good place to start here with the sound suppression. The damage range gives you a big enough range increase from the reduction. So plus the noise suppression is always perfect for what is probably the most broken class setup in the game at the moment. Pretty good. With this gun, with this attachment, this gun also sounds pretty hilarious. Like, the fire rate is actually wild, so it does sound pretty great. The monolithic suppressor does turn this thing into a beast at those medium ranges. So next we are interested in the barrel attachment. A couple of these do fairly similar things, but we're looking to increase our damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control, which both of these do in spades. So we're taking a look at the stock M16 Grenadier and the Corvus Custom Marksman. So, like I said, these both do the same thing in varying amounts, and I've boiled it down to this. I feel like the M16 Grenadier is more effective at those longer ranges as it increases the recoil control slightly. You get a bit better accuracy and more range with this one, whereas with the Corvus Custom Marksman, you get a little bit more damage up close. You'll still lose a little bit more mobility. I think it's more mobile than the Grenadier, so these are your choices here. If you're looking for something that does a little bit better at range, the Grenadier is what you're after. And if you're looking for something a bit better up close, the Corvus Custom Marksman is probably what you're after. But like I said, they're pretty similar. So both of these are fantastic attachments, so you cannot really go wrong here. For the laser slot, you can quite possibly use the tac laser for those improvements to the aiming stability, which as far as I know is vertical recoil, I think. Oh, not vertical recoil, horizontal recoil, sorry. And aim walking steadiness and that aim down sight speed. So you can use the tac laser, however with the attachments that we've selected on this, we don't really have a slot for this at the moment. As far as I know, you could probably switch it out for, like, switch the tac laser out for an optic if you're planning on using the iron sight. So if you do get the right iron sight on the XRK or the, I think it's the purest model of M4, they have really clean iron sights. So you can get away with using the tac laser instead of having to use an optic or the GI mini reflex or whatever you're after. So if you've not tried the tac laser yet, it is very cool. I do prefer it to the 5mW laser just because it offers that slightly different thing. So the aim down sight speed is probably more important to me. Getting those sights up is more important to me than that the hip fire accuracy and sprint to fire speed. So if you've never tried the tac laser, you might be surprised with how good it actually is. Plus, you'll only have to hide the laser if you're aiming down sight, which I guess can be a little bit tricky if you're holding an angle, but try aiming at the edge of the doorway and then hitting a flick when the enemy walks through. The optic, as I've slightly mentioned already, is basically up to you and is probably interchangeable with the tac laser or the laser slot. So if I'm using an optic, I tend to lean towards the GI Mini Reflex or the Cronin LP845 Mini Reflex. Those sights are particularly clean looking. They are awesome, some of the best sights in the game, and they're really unobstructive. You don't have to worry about them too much. However, if you are using either the XRK or the purest variants, like I mentioned earlier, you actually have really clean iron sights already. So you can definitely get away with using the iron sights if you do want a spare attachment slot for a tac laser or like an underbarrel attachment. This is of course always personal preference, so you can really choose whatever works for you. Like these couple of attachments like the underbarrel laser and optic are sort of interchangeable. You can also go with the stock if you're feeling particularly spicy, but again, that's up to you. So like you can choose whatever really suits for you. My advice is the GI Mini Reflex because it is super clean and does provide a very nice sight picture. As I mentioned there briefly, there is of course the stock slot. There are a couple of options you can go with. I do particularly like the Forged Tac CQS one for that increased aim down sight speed. Like I said, you don't really have to go with a stock. You can always choose one. So assault rifles and SMGs will always benefit from having that extra aim down sight speed while only reducing the aiming stability a little bit, which you can definitely get away with. So if you're planning on using a stock, you should probably use that one. If you are planning on being a bit more aggressive, you can also run the no stock option, which gives you that movement speed and aim down sight speed. It does make your recoil a little bit worse, which with the M4 is already quite difficult to control sometimes. So if you are using the no stock, you want to be very, very aggressive in getting up in people's faces, which with the 9mm para rounds, you will not have a problem with. But yeah, the M16 stock and the Singard Arms Invader don't really do an awful lot for you. Like you're not getting a great deal of stuff out of this, so you don't really have to worry about those in my opinion. If you were planning on using a perk, sleight of hand is probably your only realistic option here. Like none of these are super impactful, but I guess like sleight of hand is probably the best option, or maybe fully loaded if you're going on bigger long streaks. Like the other perks don't really give you that significant enough of a bonus to take up a slot. So I don't tend to use sleight of hand myself, but I don't think it's really necessary. But you can if you choose. You can probably swap that out with an underbarrel optic laser in that kind of slot. One of these 5 for the perk if you're interested in that. For the grip tape, something actually a little bit different here. You can definitely use the stipple grip tape, but it might not be the best choice here for once. It's actually kind of unbelievable that I'm not recommending the stipple grip tape straight away, but I'd probably choose the rubberized grip tape just for that recoil control. You can get away with the aiming stability and aim walking steadiness of the granulated grip tape as well. It's kind of good, but just for me, the rubberized grip tape does exactly what I want it to do. So increasing that recoil control, it just makes it very, very good. Like the M4 can, like I said, be a little bit wild sometimes, so being able to control it a bit more consistently is always a positive. If you are going to be a little bit more aggressive, say you were using the no stock option, you can always use the stipple grip tape for the aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed increases. Just makes you a bit more aggressive, a bit faster, get everything going straight away. Now, the real star of the show here is the ammunition slot. These are the 9mm para 32 round magazines, and that is particularly important for this class. The 9mm para rounds increase your rate of fire and recoil control at the cost of a little bit of damage and a little bit of range. But if you do look at these little bars here, like if you can compare them to the 60 round magazines and the 9mm ones, there's not actually great of a difference between the damage and range. Like it doesn't actually lose enough of a bar for it to actually make that much difference. So I don't think you're ever going to end up with like a 5-shot. Like you're very unlikely to end up with a 5-shot M4 kill unless it's at those super long ranges. So this damage minus does not actually make that much difference in my opinion. You'll still be able to get away with killing people very, very quickly, like 3-4 shot kills you shouldn't have a problem getting. There isn't really a reason to not run the 9mm para 32 round magazine. Like the attachment turns the M4 into an absolute bullet hose like I've been talking about. It massively increases the fire rate so it can actually compete up close with those SMGs, like with your MP5 and your MP7. Like it's pretty wild. Like, I don't think the fire rate is as high as the MP7, but still a large enough increase that you would think the cost of the fire rate, you think that you actually get a bigger reduction in damage with the increase in fire rate, but it doesn't really do that. So I actually cannot believe I hadn't tried this before, but I'm so glad I did. I'd rather be using this than pretty much any gun in the game at the moment. It's just super, super great, and I'm really excited about the M4 again because it is, of course, still super strong, and this 9mm para rounds make it even stronger. So if you've not tried the 9mm para rounds in the M4A1 yet, you do have to give it a try. It is something pretty wild in this game. It's probably as big a change as adding the 556 rounds to the AUG. Like that's the kind of power difference I'm talking about with this ammo conversion. It is wild how strong this is, and you should probably expect to see a lot more of this kind of thing running around as people start to learn about it. Anyway, do give it a chance if you've not tried it yet. Trust me, it is awesome. It is excellent and is one of my new favorite setups in the game at the moment. I do love it a lot. Anyway, guys, if you did enjoy this one, make sure you do leave a like and do subscribe if you don't want to miss out on any more of my videos like this one. It really does let me know that you guys are enjoying these and finding these class setups useful because I am loving making them at the moment. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Bye!